Well, we are so excited to get back to this regular series of our Kvaroy weekly updates. It's been amazing as we've looked at how we've come to market since February 1st and all of the different things that we've done as a brand. And also, not only that, to build this, to build the story, the background, and of course, to bring you our beautiful Kvaroy Arctic salmon. Joining me today on our farm update is Victoria Block. And Victoria actually is a significant part of our logistics team, without of whom we would not be able to get the fish from Kvaroy and Kvaroy Island over to the United States. And I wanted her to join us for a number of reasons. One, of course, is that last week we wrapped up applications for our Aquaculture Women in Aquaculture Scholarship Fund. We've been trying to really amplify not just women in aquaculture, but diversity in aquaculture, as we've really looked inside in the last couple of weeks to figure out how we can make the most impact and use our voice to align sustainability with diversity. So I've asked Victoria to join me today so we can talk a little bit about that and also about her role at Kvaroy Arctic. Victoria, hello. Good
Hello.
afternoon. How are you?
Hi. I'm good. And you?
I'm doing really well, thank you. We were just talking about how beautiful the weather is. Give us the
Yes.
weather report from Kvaroy Island.
Oh, today is a very beautiful day because it's not too much wind, and that's rare. We do have a lot of wind, and it's blue sky and it's sunny, so it's a perfect summer day today, actually.
Perfect summer day, and you've been able to enjoy that a little bit. I'll bet there was quite
Yeah.
a bit of cold weather late this year.
Yeah, it's been extreme. We haven't had this much snow in years. Into I think the last of snow in the nearest city went for late of May, and that's rare. It's
Well,
been
and
really
part of
cold.
that too is it affects production because
Of
the
course.
fish, of course, slow down, their growth slows down as we get that, as we have that winter cold water. And then our big growing season is really starting now, which is a little bit
Yeah.
late, right?
Yeah. The biggest growing season is from June to August, September, and that has of course been postponed for maybe a month, and that is a very big loss for the fish because we have quite cold weather the entire year, so we have to kind of maximize the good weather we do have in the summer. So, but hopefully it will. Maybe we'll have a good fall. So maybe we'll have the growing then.
Well,
Maybe.
we know I have so many questions for you because, of course, part of the difficulty during this pandemic was moving the fish from point A to point B, and the extraordinary work that you and Zabina Taylor and of course
Mm,
Claudia Torres have done for us in order to keep things really moving smoothly, and that we're very grateful for. But before we dive into that, I'd like to talk to you just about you and how you
yeah.
came to work for Kvaroy Arctic and the work that you've done between your schoolwork and then to the farm, and of course moving to the island quite recently. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, when I was like 19, I moved to the bigger city because I grew up in a very small place,
Uh-huh.
and I studied aquaculture management. So it's quite a little bit of biology and a lot of management and economics. So you got a big spectrum of subjects, and I really enjoyed the aquaculture part of it. I love food production. It's a very very important job. Everybody needs food, especially healthy food, and so I studied that and work beside the studies, like a part-time job with farming,
Mhm.
farming very small fish like that.
Uh-huh.
So I worked with this very small fish, and then when I was done, I moved to Kvaroy because I got the opportunity here. So for now I have been here for 2 years.
And what was
With
that first opportunity? Because you were working
what
on the farm, right, on the water at first?
Yeah, I was. Yes, at Kvaroy, I only worked for a few weeks on the pens, on the actual farm. But before that, I worked on the farming fish on the pens, and I really enjoyed it.
Mhm.
But now I don't. Now I work with logistics.
Mhm. And what was it that really connected you, did you feel like, to sustainable aquaculture? Because Kvaroy is quite different.
Yeah, we do things a little bit different. We're very aware of the environment around us, uh, how important it is for the other life in the water, like other fishes. And I think it's important because you want to do this in the long run, and to do it in the long run, you have to do it sustainably. You can't ruin the nature around us, because then we can't do it for a lifetime.
Mhm.
And we are supposed to give food to ourselves and our kids, and backwards or next generations.
That's right. And what
So
was it like coming into a company that was family owned with that type of intention? Because most aquaculture in Norway, of course, is owned by big companies that have lost that history.
yeah, I think the first thing I noticed when starting work for Kvaroy was the fact that it's quite short road from me as a farmer to the boss like Alf Göran and Håvard and Gjermund. So they're quite down to earth. They are very grounded with the farmers, and it's, I think, when it's such a very small company but also family owned, and we have those visions that we do, I think we are more in contact with each other, if it does make any sense.
And don't you feel like we all have a voice? I think
Yeah,
that
we do.
one of the things that has most impressed me is their ability to really listen
Yeah, absolutely.
and
They
learn.
do.
And that, I think, is very important given your position. We've talked about how important we think it is to bring more diversity to aquaculture and those efforts through Kvaroy Arctic. And we really appreciated you championing our aquaculture scholarship fund, and the fact that you even mentioned, I think, in your video, that if
Yeah.
only it had been available when you were going to school.
Yeah, I have never been, I never seen a scholarship like this or opportunities like this. Of course, aquaculture wants to recruit more women to have more diversity, because it's been very male dominated. So, uh, but I think it's a great opportunity. If this was when I studied, I would definitely apply, for sure.
And did you feel like it changed the conversation with the people around you? I mean, here you've come, and obviously it's been important to start to hire more women at Kvaroy Arctic. I know, I mean, the US team has 7 out of 8
Yeah.
people that are 7 women, and poor Bill Hewitt always feels like he's the one that's always sort of singled
Yeah.
out. But they're starting to really build the team, support our scholarship recipient. You'll get to meet her. You know, part of this
Yeah.
was to have these internships. What role do you think you need to play in building that diversity? Did you reach out to other companies or people that you knew, women that you knew might want to study? Was there anything that really affected your actions in starting to support more women in your field?
Yeah, I know a lot of young girls that is educating themselves into aquaculture. So I think it was a good approach to share this with them that might be in Norway, of course, abroad as well, but I don't know of those. So it's kind of sharing it, especially with the younger people that I know is
Mhm.
going to educate themselves into.
I don't think people realize how many places there are, how many
Yeah.
university, college opportunities, and internship opportunities there are to be able to study aquaculture all throughout the food chain. So my
Mm,
whole thing was, whether it was technology, if it was working with Lainey Thompson with AQUA, or if it was, or something else, if it was marketing or strategic development, or even if it was sales, that there are so many places, feed models. You know, we think about Catherine Breyer from Biomar and Jill Johnson Kaufman from Corbion. I mean, think of how many different
yeah.
places there are to work in aquaculture besides just the farm.
Yeah, I have speaking a lot about it actually, because I think it's very important to know that in aquaculture there is not only farming. There is so many other opportunities besides working with the fish that has great opportunities. I think I have tried to speak with other girls about it actually, that there is so much more than just the farming, that you, if you enjoy technology. There is a lot of opportunities with that. It's biology, it's economics, it's law, it's
And
so
veterinary
many.
studies as well.
Of
If
course,
you felt
yeah,
like you were connected to animals and
yeah,
wanted to think about animal health and welfare, aquaculture is all of those things. I think it's
yeah.
just an amazing thing. And then this philanthropic piece of it, where we're really helping to develop more sustainable food systems that are going to create such impact in the future. And what an
Mm,
amazing opportunity for women to be able to impact that.
yeah, I agree.
So let's talk a little bit about the logistics side and what you're doing now. Is that
Yeah,
okay?
yeah,
Because
sure. Yeah,
it's such an important part of the work that we're doing. I mean, we're only as strong as our weakest link, I keep saying, and the place where the weak link came very much into focus was on week 12 of this year, as you were working through the night, as Alf Goran was working through the night to make sure that we moved fish from point A to point B. Can you tell us a little bit about what that was like?
I am quite new into the game of logistics, so that was a very big headache. It was very difficult, I have to say, because the thing with the COVID-19 is that nobody knew what to do, because nobody has
Right.
done this before. Nobody has gone through this pandemic before. So um, getting fish from point A to point B, it was terrible. But
Mhm.
we managed everything. Everything fell into place last minute, as it always does into logistics. Transportation, it has a weird way of working, because when everything looks dark, it just works out. I don't know. You always have to be patient. I've learned to be very patient into this game,
Mhm.
and trust your coworkers, because everybody's working and everybody wants to succeed. So
Mhm.
no, it was very difficult, I have to say,
And
especially with the flights.
yeah, especially with the flights.
Yeah.
And there was so much of this that was negotiated in advance. And even as the flights were continuing to contract, that communication between the freight forwarder,
Mhm.
the producer, and not just the producer, but also the production team that was doing the processing, every single step of it was, and then of course landing here, and what Sabina was doing at the time
Mm,
was, and it was a lot of communication, wasn't it? Because there were so many
yeah,
changes, things were happening in
yeah,
real time.
yeah. It could be like 2 hours before departing from London or Amsterdam. It would be cancelled, and the next plane wouldn't be for 2 days, because then they were shutting down everything. So getting a plane, it was difficult, but of course our freight forwarders do want us to succeed and have it
Right.
arrived in best condition. So they did their best they could, and
Yeah,
it worked out.
they did an exceptional job.
Yeah, they
And
did.
I mean, to the point where the majority, much more than half of the fish that was being exported from Norway into the United States was Kvaroy Arctic. I
Yeah,
mean, that's how
we
good of a
yeah
job it was exceptional when you think about how much fish was being moved by, of course, our partner Whole Foods, and
mm,
then the developing and emerging markets that we were just beginning to reach out to.
yeah. No, it was amazing. I would, when I think back to it, I think it was super chaotic, but it was so fun because you learned so much about everybody, and everybody was kind of on top of it, and speaking to everybody, and it went back and forth all the time. So it was a mess. But now things have started to be stable, and things work, I wouldn't say as normal, but very close to normal.
What advice would you give someone on the logistics side facing this type of crisis? Because a lot of people did not do it as well as you and Alfgor and as Sabina. So what advice is there for them in planning? Because as we know, there are always going to be problems. It's how we solve them
Yeah.
that is really the answer. And I'm curious about what advice you would give to everyone so that they could manage a situation like this in the future, because the odds are it will happen again.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's good to be prepared for another one. So I'm not sure of advice, but I would think maybe trust the person you're working with, and just be patient, because even when it's so close to falling apart, it probably will work out. But I think having good colleagues as well to kind of brainstorm when it's burning the most. If it wasn't for my colleagues over in the US and that or freight forwarder, I don't know what I would do. They were super important. So communication and kind of relying that everybody is doing their best. No, I'm not sure. It's
Well,
difficult.
I think part of it was you have to take the old playbook and kind of throw it out the window. So
Yeah,
there was a
yeah.
way of doing business, and I think the people that succeeded were the ones that weren't trying to push what their normal agenda would have been.
No, absolutely.
That you had to throw that out. So what was amazing to me was, whether it was through Amsterdam or through London, or by trucking the fish in a different way, moving it around areas that were in crisis. We had situations here. I know Zabina was working with you, where we actually had airports we knew that were not using, that were not getting the freight in, and had very reduced flights. And we started moving things into small airports, like in South Carolina, like in Greenville, that could take a few of those flights, and were willing to have that direct flight from Amsterdam land there. And then, of course, the cooperation with the trucking companies to get it out. So it really is, you've got to think outside the box. And then the other thing I felt like was really caring for people. I mean, the way in which we tried to make sure that the truckers were taken care of, at every single level, from the airport to the warehouse to the truckers, as we started to see things like restaurants close, so they couldn't, when they were trucking the fish, get food to eat, making sure they had sack lunches. I mean, all kinds of things that just had to happen. Restrooms became an issue because none of the public restrooms were open. Of course, all of those things are starting to be resolved now, but those were really putting stress on the transportation system, that became, maybe you got it here, but then it became even harder potentially to get it from the airport to the warehouse to where it needed to go. So every single, what I called this chain of well-being, had to be very tight and supported, from the bad weather we had there, to moving the fish and getting it through, to, of course, it landing here and getting to our customers. It was, woo, there were a lot of long nights, I know.
Yeah, it was. I think I agree with what you're saying, because this is a time you don't want to lose anybody. You're really dependent on everybody to do the job, and of course they need to thrive, and it's difficult thriving in a pandemic, but you have to do the best you can and take care of them. But yes, long nights, very long nights. I remember waking up in the morning at 4 a.m. to do work, because the ball is rolling all the time, so you have to make sure it is rolling and not something stops in the way. And
I think it's one of those underrated jobs, because what everyone doesn't understand is that you're getting messages throughout the night if there are flight issues, if there are issues with not just flights, but also just a miss or a miscommunication on an order, broken boxes, claims. I mean, all of these things that all feed into ultimately that fish getting on the plate or getting into the fish case. It's a lot of different layers besides just the transaction of selling it, or in our case, telling that story, all from an island in the middle of the Arctic Circle, which is, when you think about what you're doing logistically with 90 people on the island and a very small, circumstance, to be able to move as much fish as we're moving.
It's kind of overwhelming to think about, really. I don't know, I'm just amazed when you say it like that.
The other exciting news was about the acquisition of Kvaroy Smolt, and which has been titled now Kvaroy Smolt, and Pia Muller's hiring. And do you see yourself, I wonder about the education. I always say I'm a student of curiosity, And I love nothing more than to have a curiosity conversation with you and hear how you got to where you
Mm.
are, and to really sit and listen and kind of absorb what's happening to be able to help it populate my thinking. And I'm curious about that for you. What really sparks your curiosity in this space? Would it be to learn about the hatchery or to understand more about the systems as we invest in them? What sparks your curiosity?
I love learning about things I don't know a lot of. Like I really enjoy biology,
Uh-huh.
so I think the biology aspect of it is without a doubt the most uh, exciting thing for me to learn about. I love learning about how nature works and how you can I wouldn't, it's wrong to say manipulate it, but how you can use it for the advantage of processing food.
Mhm. And also for strengthening what's to come, right? Because I think it's being by whether it's breeding programs or feed programs, we're really what we're doing is we're strengthening our position in the future.
Yeah, we
Right.
are. Yeah, I really hope so. That's what we are aiming to do this in the long run and to save ourselves for the future.
Mhm.
And I think we are in a very good direction for that.
So beyond logistics, you're in a position, it seems, where there's encouragement of learning and being able to
Yeah,
grow with this. And so I know that we've kind of pulled you into some of the things in the United States. We feel here on the Kvaroy Arctic team like we're part of the family, and we're building this extended family. And but you're so lucky to always be able to walk into the office and connect and meet with everyone, which we don't always get to do. And so what
yeah,
has it are there learnings that have happened as you've seen Kvaroy Arctic come to market and gotten to know the US team as well?
yeah, totally, absolutely. It's been changing the entire company, especially for me since I'm so involved in it. But yeah,
It's a and what about that in terms of the difference between how people are feeling and reacting to Kvaroy Arctic and the US and all of this, like all of this information and the things that we're talking about? Is it quite different than there? Because I'm under the impression that, I mean, salmon is so part of your ecosystem and your culture that it's not like here where Kvaroy Arctic just feels so special.
um, I can't speak for the entire of Norway, but I know for Kvaroy we take huge pride in the Kvaroy Arctic. Um, we're super proud that we have been able to make our own product or name in the US like that. Um, I don't think for the past 5 years that we would think we were able to do that. So I know when people not on the island, but maybe on a neighbor island or on the mainland, they when they hear Kvaroy Arctic, they think it's so cool. They think it's so cool that such a small island we're able to do such a huge thing in the US and selling so much that we are and doing it in such good conditions that we are. I think we are very lucky to be in the positions that we are in.
We are, and and it's really only the beginning. I mean,
Yeah,
we've done it
that's
under the most difficult circumstances, but I can't express enough to everyone how energized we feel and how much gratitude we have. I mean, we're grateful to one another, I think, every day, and realize and respect the job that it takes, whether it's your position or really all of those pieces, the biomar piece, the Corbion piece. I mean, every single level of what we've all come together to do, and really motivated to continue to move forward in the future, because this has been a really difficult time, and there was no way that as we were in the planning stages for this that we could have ever imagined that this was going to be the environment that we would face. And so one of the things that I think everyone needs to look for, it's sort of like just watch where we're going, because when you think about the announcement of IBM blockchain on
yeah,
the Trust blockchain and the Women in Scholarship Fund and all of those things that came out of the learning and the experience that we had that we were bringing into this crisis, right? But not yet really putting into the places, the spaces, what we're learning as we're in this crisis. And that, I think, is pretty compelling, isn't it? I mean, all of the things that we've had to do as we have faced this as humanity together in all of these changing environments, and what we're learning about your culture and diversity and the way in which things have been done there. And we're kind of having these conversations to combine to improve, which I think is exciting. And it's also the responsibility that we share.
Yeah, it's a huge responsibility. Absolutely. No, it's super exciting, actually. Because when you say it like that, I get kind of overwhelmed, because when you work on a daily basis, you don't think too much of the big picture of it. But of course, it's huge.
It is. And just the things that we can do as a team, right? By listening and by moving things forward. And part of that has been this effort in diversity, while in tandem working on sustainability, while bringing new clients on board and having them embrace it. We're seeing now Kvaroy Arctic on menus, labeled on menu as the farm. We're seeing it labeled in the fish and seafood case. And of course, we've got some other products and projects that are in the pipeline. Just watch this summer. It's going to be just incredible. And we're really grateful, because part of the intersect that we feel is so important is having these conversations with you on the farm, having the ongoing virtual tours, and really being able to bring Kvaroy Island to the US and have people really feel like they can experience and connect with this as they do through the taste and the beauty of the fish itself. So thank you so much for joining me today. And for every Monday, and for every minute, every hour that you're working to make sure that we get the fish. Because we always say at the end of the day, we can do all of these things, but if the fish doesn't taste good and it isn't fresh and isn't coming to the customer, then we're really not doing the job that we need to be doing. So we have to keep doing that, getting logistically things out. And we thank Claudia and we thank Sabina here in the United States for that. We thank you and the entire team. I know we have another team member that we're adding. So we're excited about that.
Very exciting.
Yeah, very exciting. Victoria needs some help, but I know that we're excited to have her on board as well. You said the weather is beautiful, so we can look forward to our Kvaroy Arctic weather report and some of the
it will come.
adventures on the island and beyond. Victoria is going to do. We're going to use her, everyone, as like a little, I don't know, our champion from the island, to be able for all of you to begin to start to experience the beauty and the natural surroundings and the culture that makes up Kvaroy Arctic. So Victoria, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Later in the day for you, and we always are.
No, it's okay.
So enjoy. Thank you everyone for joining us on this weekly update, and we'll talk to you in a couple weeks. Have a great day, Victoria. Bye-bye.
Thank you, you too. Bye.